Yeah, I remember when we got our first big breakthrough, our first client, we started to see the difference between those one-offs and the contract.
It was a full rebrand for them.
Yeah.
It was the first time doing a full complete branding project. It's like, man, we can do this. You know, we could do the work, but people didn't know who we were. But then when they start seeing us in familiar spaces and seeing us there and seeing us there and there, that trust starts to build, and it's like, okay, right? It's like, I've seen you enough times.
We could have taken money and put it in our own pockets and bought Lamborghinis or whatever, but instead on credit, right, which would be more debt. But instead, we took that money and reinvested it back into the business. Welcome back to the Content Parlor. I'm your co-host, Dion. What's up, Teddy? Welcome back.
What's up? I was getting ready to say the artist.
The artist, Teddy. So now you guys know.
Yeah.
And I go by Deon now, middle name. So it's all good. Yeah. We both got nicknames. We've got a unique episode. This is truly one of a kind. I know I say special episode often.
Every episode is special.
Yeah, but this really is one of a kind. I mean, this episode is to celebrate our 10-year anniversary. 10 years in business at Stable Gray. For those who know us, know that we've been running a marketing agency called Stable Gray for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And we just want to talk about some of the experiences that we've had over the last 10 years. The goods, the bads, the goods, the services, just all of the twists and turns that we've been on. So before we jump into that, we got to do our housekeeping.
Yep.
So you guys know from our previous episodes, we're here at the Content Parlor studio. Content Parlor is your social club for content creators. This is the place to be when it comes to renting gear, renting the studio, and getting access to content creation tools and services. This is the place to be. No shade on the other entities around town, but we want to create a space where those things can happen on a regular basis as well. Make sure you follow us on social media to get the latest updates. And of course, to watch the full episodes, it'll be right here where you're watching this on YouTube. But make sure you follow us. It helps the algorithm. It also helps to get the latest updates. So hit the bell notification when you're signing up. The bell notification will give you the instant updates. As soon as we post, as soon as we publish something, you'll see it so you don't forget or miss out on anything. We're going to continue to post more and more, so it's going to get harder and harder to keep track of what's going on. All right?
All right.
So with that out of the way, 10 years. We got some merch on the table. We've got some people know it as Jenga. Some people know it as tumbling towers. You may wonder why it's sitting here. Well, and you may wonder why we have a billboard behind it. Those are all great questions.
Yeah.
But the reasons that it's sitting here is because we want to celebrate. All right, so we're going to play a little Jenga, tumbling towers, whatever you know it as.
Okay.
Yeah, as we celebrate today. We can't do too much on camera, so we're just going to play a little game.
Okay.
But as we play this game, we're going to talk about what's transpired over the last 10 years. Anything to add to that?
No, nothing to add. I mean, there's a lot to talk about. You're talking about 10 years.
10.
Yeah, a lot has changed in 10 years.
No doubt.
Yeah, you can do a lot in 10 years.
Yeah, and we have done a lot. It's weird hosting this because it's like it's our story, so I really can't interview you, but we have some questions prepared, and we'll just kind of talk about those as we go. So I've done enough talking to start off the show, so I'll pass it to you for the first question or topic. I know you said that you had some ideas of what we could talk about, so what would that first thing be that you would like to share with the audience?
Oh, the first thing, and we get the question, you get the question a lot, when you meet with people and people talk with you, just, talking about the early days.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like what sparked it? How did it all begin? What was it, really like?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or early wins and projects and things, or that moment, where it was like, okay, I think we can really do this.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
For sure.
Yeah.
So my mind immediately goes to our very first project. You talk about early wins because, if we really want to go back, we have to go back to 2015.
Mm-hmm.
And really, we want to really be honest, we go back to 2014 when we first met.
Yeah.
And at that time, I was working in finance. I had no clear pathway to doing a business like this, and that it wasn't even on my radar.
Yeah.
I was on a date in Midtown in Omaha, and for those who know the story of Omaha Code School, they actually had their first visible location here in Omaha at the Midtown crossing. And I was on a date. I just happened to be on a date in that area and was walking through, and I just saw these people on computers just sitting there typing. The space looked really modern. It looked really cool. And, I'm working in finance at Mutual of Omaha.
Yeah.
So, it's a more sedentary, more old-fashioned type of business. And I walk through and I see the Omaha Code School logo and the kids in there working and stuff. And I just said, man, that looks really cool. Looked it up, and I said, if I ever get a chance, I want to go to a school like that. Fast forward about 10 months or 8 months or whatever it was, and I got the opportunity to go. So I took the opportunity, took the chance to go, and this was around the time that we were serving at church together.
Yeah. Yep. So
Yeah.
I remember. Yeah, it was in a conversation that we were having on a Sunday, and you were telling me that you was getting ready to start.
Yeah,
Start.
I was excited.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, for me, up to that point, so before that point where we started, where we met at church, I had went through like a big transition. I won't get into the details right now, but big transition in life. And I was freelancing. I had just started freelance. I had freelanced for probably maybe a year or so. 'Cause my background was marketing and graphic design. I'm saying, self-taught, but I was able to, get a few clients from like some relationships that I had previously, and then I took on Abide as a client as well, but that ended up they ended up creating a position. I ended up working there, and Bridge Church was a part of it, and that's how I was doing what I was doing on Sunday at Bridge. But in addition, my brother Julian has started an entrepreneurial incubator. It was pretty new. It was like one of the first. You know what I'm saying, before entrepreneurship really. Today now it's really hot, right? But that was that was the early days of it, but it's called the Start Center. And I was in that, and I was doing that. And during that, during one of the classes, it was just talking about, ways people, can do business, and it was talking about partnerships. So I had never thought about, having a partner or anything like that. Not with what I was doing and just how I was built and how I was, I didn't trust too many people. So, doing a partnership or something like that was like, nah, I ain't trying to do anything like that. But I remember we were talking at church, and you going to code school, And I know you had different ideas of what you was gonna do with those skill sets, but it was worth like, saying like, hey, let's meet up and talk about, possibly what we could do, together. I think because when I look back in my memory, I think that's kind of how we got to that point. Because I remember going to your graduation. I did go.
Yeah, I remember that.
I remember going to that graduation and to dinner afterwards. Then we go to what was the place in wasn't it Midtown?
I think did we go downtown to what's the place down there?
I thought it was the Mexican restaurant in the Capital District.
The Capital District.
What is that place called? Moolah.
Moolah?
Yeah, that's what I thought. Did we not do that?
Was there was a group of people going there?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a group of people.
Yeah, because your sister went.
Yeah, there was a group. Mom did. Yeah. I remember. No, we had a private event downtown with a group of people. Right. But yeah, we went to Moolah that night. Yeah, I remember that too because it was, and getting back to your point about the first client, that first, big thing, it's all connected because the setup was so big. It was like, hey, man, I'm going to go to this school. I'm looking to get into a more creative space. I enjoy finance, but I wasn't being groomed to be a creative. And those who know me know, prior to all of this, I ran a recording studio. Yeah. So my background as a creative goes back, a long time before that. And I learned, I first picked up a camera because I wanted to shoot a music video for some music I was trying to make, because I used to produce music and rap and all of that stuff, my musical heyday. Mm-hmm. But, so when it comes to bringing all of that full circle, you can see how as a finance person, I still didn't have that creative part, but I love the logical side. Yeah. So coding brought all of that together for me. So it was a very exciting time. And then honestly, I was caught off guard when I was meeting you and to find out that you might be interested in that because we outside of church, we really didn't know each other. Yeah. So it was a big risk for both of us. Right on. And I just thought, if I'm going to give somebody a chance, it should be somebody who has given me the indication that they're a person of character, integrity, and, obviously meeting somebody in the church and then getting to know them in that capacity helps. So that's why I was willing to do it. Yeah. But I remember also that first client that we got. I remember in our first meeting, you were like, I think we might be able to get, some clients through the Start Center. And I said, yeah, okay, I hear you, but it's not going to be as easy as you think it is. And, a month later, we got our first client. Yeah,
because she was in that same class where those conversations happened. And it was like, at that time, she was kind of starting over because she had a partnership, right? Yeah. Now you got someone who had a partnership and the partnership was dissolving. Yeah. For various reasons, and she needed to rebrand and things like that. And it just kind of happened there, because we're talking about, what possibly might be doing, and just linked up. And then I remember us talking. It's like, we might have something. We can actually work on something, because I know for us it was like, okay, we can try this for a year and see what happens. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Because I know in the beginning it was just kind of like, we can commit to a year and see what happens. It wasn't like, we're going to do this and
build this grand company.
Yeah, it's like, man, it's going to be this, and just knowing exactly how it's going to happen. Because I'll tell you, that the initial thought was that it was just, okay, maybe we can work with startups, and it can funnel through the Start Center. Right. That's about as much as I knew right there.
Yeah, it's interesting because, initially going to code school, my plan was to work a day job for a little while and then kind of be black hat working on something on the side that I could build into maybe IPO it or something, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know, but let me just get a better job and then maybe work on some cool stuff on the side and see where it goes.
Right on.
And the stuff I ended up working on the side was the stable grace stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's funny too, because my first job out of Omaha Code School was an agency
Yeah.
called Corporate 3 Design.
Right on.
And they've dissolved since, but back then Corporate 3 was they were a big entity, you know. We built websites for Methodist Hospital and ESS software, election systems. So they do all the voting booths and stuff for the election process, which is coincidentally a hot topic right now, voting. And yeah, so we worked on a lot of really noteworthy things, you know. The Ralston Arena logo, they were just finishing up Corporate 3 Design did the logo for the Ralston Arena. Back, I believe is it Liberty First now or something?
Yeah, I'm saying
But
Liberty something.
yeah, back when it was Ralston Arena, but our team did that, and I was there as they were finishing it up. So to see that and then see it get erected on the building, it was just like, wow, whoa, you know, I've never seen anything like that. So I was a part of something really cool and really exciting, but had no idea that I was progressively building an agency of my own outside of work. In fact, I didn't think it was a conflict of interest at all back then, because what we were doing was so different.
Yeah, and I would say too, like I remember early days, and I know we had that on there. It was like stable grade digital, because the idea was like, okay, we're not going to actually do some of these other things, just to make ourselves a little different. Everything's going to be digital.
Right.
Right. But you know that didn't end up happening.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's kind of the story of the first client. And then I remember that first client ended up being with us for a number of years.
Yeah.
A number of years, not just one or two, but 7. I don't even remember.
About 8,
Yeah,
9
7,
years.
8.
8, 9 years.
Yeah, it was a big
until
client.
she just decided to close it.
Do something different.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's kind of the first client. I guess, you know, for me, you know, as you look at other topics of, got my screen locked out here, but, you know, as you look at, you know, those early days of living paycheck to paycheck and that transition to full time, my first question was just like, you know, I've never asked you this question, you know, what was that period like for you? I know what it was like for me transitioning to full time, but what was it like for you living paycheck to paycheck as a business owner?
You know, it's just one of those things where you don't think too much about it. You know what I'm saying? I was always a person that's always been in my head, but when I look back, it's like, man, that was a pretty high intense and stressful time, because up to that, before just jumping in full time, is like I had a kid on the way, first kid, right? I was like, wow, man, you know. And my wife, she was cool with it, you know what I'm saying? It's like, all right, you know, because at that time, because we were doing it on the side, right? And so before we made that jump, we weren't bringing in enough to sustain both of us.
Right.
It just we weren't.
We both were homeowners at that point, weren't? I believe you had already
Yeah,
gotten your
I had
first house.
just did, because in 2018, like that summer,
Yeah.
you know. And matter of fact, that's when then I transitioned to part time, and then we both fully jumped in full time, like beginning of 2019.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I feel like there's a few things had to really think about, like how I was gonna make that happen, right? And I don't think like you can't fully figure it all out, but I know there had to be some adjustments made in like how we got business and the kind of business we did. You know what I'm saying? That's when started leaning more into this type of retainer type style. where you could try to get something that's a little bit more, consistent and have a base. But I remember it's like month to month. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes like last day of the month, getting a deal and getting that deposit to even be able to pay ourselves.
Yeah, I remember that time as well. And I'm gonna go ahead and crack open this Jenga.
Okay.
But I remember that time as well. Gosh, are any of these loose? Sheesh.
This is a little different than the big one.
Oh man,
but
you gotta work it.
We'll let you know this is one of the games we played every year for Christmas Eve.
So you feel confident?
Yeah, I'm pretty confident in this.
See. But yeah, I remember that period as well because I had my house, and I remember like I never missed a payment. I guess I forgot to put mine up there. I played this in a while.
You played this?
I played this in a while, y'all. I never missed a payment on my house, but some of those were close to the late, when you get the grace period. Yeah. So they'll give you a little bit of time to be late, but not be counted as late.
Yeah.
And I remember, several of those mortgage payments during that time was like at the last day, the last possible day. And it was a stressful time for me because, everything was happening at a time in my life when there was like just personal instability. Mm-hmm. Just for example, like I quit my job. I was working at Hay Needle before they were absorbed by Walmart. And I was working there during the time when it was kind of slowing down. But I was very much in a salary job and, all of that's some benefits and all of that stuff. And I turned all of that down, not because which is the next thing I wanted to talk about, is the shifting from it being a side business to full time. But I walked away from all of that, not just because I liked Stable Gray, but because I had a choice to make. It was so busy at work. I mean, we had pager duty, so I may have to have this phone that for those who know, like internet retailers, it's 24/7. If that site goes down for 4 hours, that could cost them $30,000, $50,000. So the site can't go down. If there's a bug, it's got to be fixed as quickly as it possibly can be. And there were times when we had clients at Stable Gray that needed things done, and then I still have pager duty.
Yeah.
And when you get pager duty, it's for a number of days consecutively. Like you might have it for Monday through Friday or Monday through Saturday.
Right.
And during that time, if the pager goes off at 3:00 in the morning, you got to get up. You got to, you got to get on your computer, figure out what the bug was, and call it in if you need to. And there was a time when that happened when it was right before we were going full time. I had pager duty, and we had a client that had rush delivery.
Yeah, I remember that was the Wayne
State. Yeah, we had 3 videos we had to get done, and that was one of the. I thought it was possible that I could die from sleep deprivation during that period of time, because there were some days in there where I would work 8 hours at Hay Needle, come home, start working on this video project, and then take a nap every like 3 hours to try to get the project done. And then the pager's going off at the same time. And so there was a stretch of like 3 or 4 days in a row where I slept about probably like 2 hours every day, because I just had to power nap my way through. And that's actually why I'm so good at napping, is from that period. I learned how to power. I mean, I could do it before that, but I got really good at it then. So yeah, it was just a very difficult time during that time to try to manage work-life balance. And I knew I had to make a choice. It's like, if you're going to go full time and take a risk, or you got to let this go, because you can't do both.
Right. Yep. And you get to that point. I think we had maxed out what we could do as far as like having it as a side hustle or as a side business.
Yeah.
So you make that decision. It's like, okay, because really the only availability for us to do what we were doing was after work, right? So it's like I had a full-time job, get off of work, and then dedicate 4, 5, 6 hours in the evening to it.
Yeah. Meeting at libraries.
And then meeting at the libraries, and then we would meet early morning before going to work at your house.
Yep.
Remember that?
Yeah, we would meet very
6 in
early.
the morning, we would meet very early
6:30.
and then go to work after that. And then if we had any shoots, it'd either have to be in the evening or on Saturdays. Yeah. So we worked on the weekend. So you're working over 40 hours a week when you're doing it like that.
Yeah.
But that's what we had available. But it got to the point to where, like, if we wanted to be here, this is where it's going to be. If we wanted to go anywhere else, we're going to need more time.
Yeah,
we're going to need
gotta
more
have time.
availability.
Yeah.
And I also remember during that time too, it's like it really stretched me as far as like, having to do like sales and doing presentations, stuff like that. That was never my strong suit. That was not something I wanted to do. I was always like behind the scenes. I always loved just being behind the scenes, quiet in the background. Just let me do what I'm supposed to do. But I had to do some of those things, right? It's like, in order to be able to get to that place, I had to like just do it scared.
Yeah.
Put together this presentation and meet with like Bishop Business. Like, that's like what? Yeah. Like that's not something I feel comfortable doing. But you do it, and over time you get more and more comfortable. I remember, man, I'd be like, if I had a meeting Friday, that I had to meet with the client, man, I'd be anxious and nervous about it the whole week. That's just how it was.
Interesting.
Yeah. I was not comfortable doing that stuff.
Yeah, I remember when we got our first big breakthrough, our first client. It was the 75 North.
Yeah.
So all that hard work paid off, but I remember that ribbon cutting event that I wasn't able to attend because I had to work. I had to go into work. Yeah. So you were able to attend. I think you went out and captured some footage of it, and then we started to see the difference between those one-offs and the contract. And I think that contract really solidified us that first year to say, like, okay, we made the right choice. But up until then, it was a lot of nails being bit. It was a lot of gray hairs coming in because it was stressful. And so, it's always a risk. And I know we always said, like, if we had the choice to go work for somebody else, we would have preferred to go do that because that would have been an easier path. But an agency like ours didn't exist. So it was either carve the path or...
Right. At that time, it was like I only knew of 2 others that looked like us that did something like this. Right. Like I knew Ridiculous because he had done that, the work with 75 North and Highlander. And then I knew of Jason with Surreal, Surreal
shout out Jason.
Media. But as far as like, an agency that's hiring people and doing this type of stuff, that just, it didn't exist. It did not.
Yeah, and I think, as we continued to grow, we started to see that there's room for other people to do this. I know early on when we first started off, at least for me, there was always a nervousness. There was always like, I don't know if we can turn this into a real business because there's other people doing the same thing. There's a lot of people with cameras. There's a lot of people with vision, with messaging and all of that stuff. But When we started to lean into our processes and the experience that we gave our customers, I think that's what really set us apart. It's not that other people were, any better or worse than us. It's just that ours was unique in that manner.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that's how we've gotten where we are. It's because we leaned into what our skill sets were. And I would say too, even getting the first contract that we got with 75 North, it was a unique contract.
Yeah.
We've never put anything together like that, but it leaned to what we did well.
Yeah.
And they liked it. And they, we end up, doing business with them. But I think from the beginning, we've always just kind of said, even though we don't see people doing it like this, we're going to do it like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was the thing.
Yeah, I think too, I remember being at a fireside chat, and I remember Nebraska Enterprise Fund was in the audience, and I sat up there, I was a panelist, and I sat up there and I was, because we didn't have any debt for the first 7-8 years of business. We didn't have any kind of credit situation going on. And I sat up there and I was like, we did this debt free. We don't have any debt, blah, blah, blah. And then like right when I got done, they were like, this fireside chat is sponsored by Nebraska Enterprise Fund. And I was like, oops. But, to our credit, that's awesome that we were able to do that. And I just want to ask you about that, because to me, I feel like that was a major part of our success is we disciplined ourselves. When we got money, we didn't just go spend it. We reinvested it, and that's why we have all this equipment today. Yeah. We could have taken money and put it in our own pockets and bought Lamborghinis or whatever, but instead on credit, right, which would be more debt. But instead, we took that money and reinvested it back into the business, which gave us more capacity, but also gave us the ability to go after bigger and better contracts.
Yeah, I agree. We were definitely on the same page as far as that. That's how we built it. Early days, like we didn't just spend the money, we invested it back. Mm-hmm. And as we invested it back, we were able to get better contracts and things like that. And I would say early on, even before we were making too much money, even when we were doing the side business, we were trying to employ people. We were hiring others to work with us. Lewis, early on, you know what I'm saying? What we could, right? We, out of the little bit we were making, we were willing to pay other people to work with us on these projects. So we were never greedy or trying to pocket all. We just was never like that. Right.
Yeah. I mean, we're sitting here today, 10 years, 25, 26 contractors, 7 employees, some part-time, but all of that through reinvestment. Yeah. And so I think that's an important message to get out for everybody is don't be satisfied with $5,000 or, saying you worked with this person. Reinvest it and think bigger, go bigger. Yeah. I would say something unique about us too as we look at other agencies and stuff is we have a partnership. Yeah. The other agencies, it's typically one person who's at the helm. Yeah. And we have a more flat, leadership style where it's not all dependent on one person to make the decisions. Yeah. So I think that's part of that transition as well. And, we sacrificed for each other. I remember when we were going full time and we said, you go first. It just makes sense for you to go first since you handle a certain aspect of the business. Yeah. You go first, kind of lay those railroad tracks, and then I'm going to come and I'm going to hammer them down. Yeah. And that worked well for us at that time. I don't know if you could do it today because it's crazy now with the AI, but it worked at that time. Yeah. One last question that I've always kind of thought about is how did we learn to market ourselves as a marketing company? And I know that question sounds kind of like, maybe to an outsider looking in, it seems obvious, but we struggled with that for a number of years. I remember, our first 10 major websites that we did, their websites were far better than ours. We just had like a basic WordPress. I went through Omaha Code School, learned all this custom software development, and then we had a WordPress website that barely performed for like the first 5-6 years of the business. So how did we learn how to market ourselves, to build a podcast, to build a proper website, to give our business the same things that we gave to our customers, in your opinion?
In my opinion, I think number one is that that both of us are both like dedicated to growing and getting better at what we do. So I think over time you've obviously honed your skills and gotten better at what you do, and you applied those to our business as I did the same thing, right? And because we're just active learners, and you learn to not just you learn to be able to do better for those that you're serving, but then also just being an agency, it's like I can show you better than I can tell you. So it's like we have to show it, right? And so as we learn, we try to represent that through our brand so that they can see it's like, oh, this is what you're talking about. This is what it should look like, or what it can do. So it was really it's a selling tool as well. Right?
No doubt about that. I mean, I remember when we built that first WordPress website, and it was trash. I'm not even gonna lie. It was not a good website. But when I went back and I rebuilt the website, the second version of the Staple Gray website, I recall a month after we built that website, we got our first plus $10,000 website. And I just remember how much they referenced the new website and how great that was and how much they loved it and how that really impressed them. And that, careful now, you break, you buy. Oh man, okay, it's like all the middle ones are starting to be gone. I was about to start
running out
getting
of some options there.
right. But yeah, I just remember that being a key reason why they picked us amongst others, is just because of that new website. So it definitely was a marketing tool, a selling tool.
Yeah.
And I think that's key for other people who out there who are thinking about starting their own business. In today's day and age, you got to have a website. You have to have it because social media, as we've seen with TikTok, social media can shut down.
It can disappear.
It can be hijacked by hackers. And if your customer data lives on the internet, if it lives on social media somewhere else, you don't have control over that data. You don't have control over your customer relationships. So it's always good to, I would say, like, diversify your digital footprint.
Yeah. I would also say too, in the early days we were heavy on content creation. I would like to say we kind of owned that phrase before it like became hot. Content.
We had the Stable Gray show. We should roll a reel of the Stable Gray show.
But people, again, some people get so focused on having like so many likes and reach and stuff like that. But all you need is the right people to see it. Right. And the right people would see our posts and they would say, oh yeah, we saw y'all doing this and saw y'all doing that. And that's how we were able to get some business as well. And I would say a game changer too, like your brand goes beyond your website, your logo, and the content you create, it follows you. And so networking was huge. That was a big game changer, linked up with Tim. Tim was big on networking. And actually I learned a lot from him because again, like that was something I wasn't really comfortable doing. I avoided doing stuff like that, but it was something that needed to be done if we were going to like do this and grow this business. Because I've learned too that people do business with people that they know.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter that you can do the work, that's a given, but you know, we could do the work, but people didn't know who we were. But then when they start seeing us in familiar spaces and seeing us there and seeing us there and there, that trust starts to build, and it's like, okay, right? It's like, I've seen you enough times. Now I'm gonna come over and introduce myself and
Right.
find out what is it that you do. Or I've been watching, you know.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, there's a lot to unpack here. We'll have to do another one on the 10-year anniversary.
Yeah,
I want
keep it going.
I want to also hit on just what we plan, what the big milestones were for these 10 years. Happy to go first on this. You know, I think for me, I knew we had a legitimate business when we worked with Union Pacific. Don't get me wrong. Working with 75 North, multi-million-dollar project, big deal. Working with Wayne State College, great college, that's a big deal. But there was just something about the unattainable Union Pacific, like so hard for anybody to get a contract with them.
Fortune 5, right?
Fortune 500, I believe.
At least 1,000.
$3-4 billion.
Okay.
One of the top premier railroad companies in the country.
Yeah.
And to not just that we worked with them, but what we worked on with them.
Yeah.
Producing the investor day
Yeah.
during COVID when everybody was remote, and them having to create this whole show that would be virtually available as if people were there with them in person. So we rented out the slowdown, I believe it was, or was it the waiting?
Oh yeah, the first one it was a slowdown.
We rented out the slowdown and did all the pre-recorded all of the multicam. That's how we got into multicam. We had just started getting into it, but rented that out. And you know, shout out to Jenga, who's now over at the Bay, who took us under his wing and really showed us like how he does his thing. He's a fantastic content creator, so shout out Django. But that project to me was like the first, and then after that we went on to do more work with Union Pacific after that initial project, taking on the second round of production for them with pre-recorded multicam videos, shooting that down at UP and just seeing how they produce things. To me, that was the first project where I felt confident, where I felt like, yeah, if we can work with UP, we can work with anybody. So what about yourself?
Right on. That's a good one. It just reminded me of, it's like, man, we had just went full time 2019, both of us, and then 2020, you have the pandemic.
Boom.
So it was like, we make it through that. You should be able to make it through.
That's a good one.
Make it through anything. Gosh, it just reminded me of that. But I would
which
say,
is why we didn't panic this time around.
right? So I mean, for me, it was a little bit earlier than that. I think it was with, and it just happened to be with. It was a Young and Young. It was with Reggie and LaShawn.
Okay.
And I'll say this because it was a full rebrand for them.
Yeah.
It was the first time doing a full one, you know what I'm saying, with the new processes that we created, and it went pretty smooth, and we did it. And it felt good. It was like from the ideation to redoing the logo, the colors, the brand identity. We planned the website design, and built the website, did the video, you directed it and storyboarded it. And it was like this full, complete, branding project. It's like, man, we can do this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'll give you credit on that one too, because I remember the experience that they had, and how special they felt to be a part of this, be a part of our business growing as well.
Yeah.
And I think the most important thing is, even though we did that project multiple years ago, and I think of this with World Speaks as well, because we built one of their first websites and logo and, supporting the logo and the brand identity and things like that. But I just the idea of watching the client that you work with grow up in a sense, many of those companies are still in business, still growing.
So true.
And it's like, man, look at how far you've come. And being a part of that journey is one of the coolest parts as well. So I'll give you the nod on that one.
Even some of the individuals that worked with us, just to see what they're doing now too.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. So that was kind of like, I was like, okay.
Yeah. So we talked about credit a little bit. What significance has it been as a company doing our paperwork right from the beginning? We on the previous episode we talked about taxes, and we met with Frank Hayes and Associates, and Nika Jackson over at Budget to Success. But I feel like I had some extra commentary about that. About what happened to us during PPP and COVID,
I mean that's really where it really showed up of how we did things right. You know what I'm saying? Like that's one thing we got the foundation right. We didn't play around when it came to taxes and the accounting.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, from the beginning.
From the beginning. And it proved to be a huge benefit and we saw that during COVID, the PPP. And that was really the barrier and the hindrance for a lot of Black-owned businesses, you know what I'm saying, was no banking relationship and didn't have the paperwork, right, that you needed to send them to be able to get that. We had it. We had a relationship with First National Bank. It literally took, I know it was less than a day to be able to get it because we had everything.
Yeah.
We had all the paperwork, had the relationship, sent it off to them, and just like that, we were able to get some dearly needed funds during that time to be able to make it through. So get your paperwork right.
Right.
Don't mess around with that stuff. We've always had some kind of accounting software, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was zero at first,
but
we always had something to track our stuff. We weren't guessing.
Yeah.
And we always budgeted out, what we would keep for ourselves, for contracting, for office supplies, for reinvestment. Like we did that early on, even if it was just on paper.
Yeah.
We would send it to each other and be like, that's solid.
Yeah. I remember that. Yeah. And I think too, just the whole having your finances together, that's the backbone of everything that you're doing within your operations. So no matter what scale you're at, you can always get your paperwork right.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how big or small you are. So I don't have much to add to that because I agree with that. Those are my initial questions. Pass it back to you. And is it my turn to go?
It might be my turn.
Okay. Well, take your time.
We answered a lot of questions.
Right.
I feel like how long have we been going right here? How long have we been recording?
About an hour?
About 40 minutes or so.
40 minutes?
Yeah. Total recording is at 52 currently, but there was some dead space before we actually got started. So it's
Okay.
about-
I think
about
for
40
this,
minutes.
maybe do one more question and wrap it up for this first one.
Yeah.
'Cause we'll
we can do
keep-
some promo stuff at the
Keep
end.
we'll keep doing this.
Yeah, you do one, and then I'll do like where are we headed? What's next? I'll wrap it up with that one.
some good questions in here.
Well, actually works.
How about this? A moment when you knew the vision was bigger than you. What do you think about that one?
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's like,
Like, what was the? I mean, we could almost say like, what's the biggest highlight over the last 10 years? Could kind of be the same question. Like, what's the most notable moment, most impactful moment over the last 10 years? I have a couple, but
notable moments.
yeah,
Oh,
notable
okay.
moments. That's a good one, right?
Yeah, that's
there.
a good one. No, that was one of them too. Okay. Yeah,
So
I'll
you
just
can
ask
ask
that.
it. Yeah.
So, Dion, over these last 10 years, what would you say was? I mean, if it doesn't have to be one, but what were some notable, moments?
Yeah. Yeah, two notable moments definitely come to mind over the last 10 years. Obviously, there's so many, but I'll say my second most notable, and then I'll say the most notable. The second most notable for me was when we received the Omaha Chamber Small Business of the Year.
Bro, why did I forgot about that? That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's
There's
nuts.
been so many. Now, the Small Business of the Year award flattered me because we won Small Business of the Month a few months prior.
Yeah.
And so, we had our moment with the Omaha Chamber of Commerce, Small Business of the Month. It's like, that's kind of cool. Yeah, you get your recognition. But then when we got the Small Business of the Year and the time in which we got it, obviously there was a lot going on with social unrest and George Floyd and things like that. But it was, a year after the Union Pacific, or 2 years after Union Pacific. It was, I think, the year that we hired our first employee. And it was also during our transition to 24th Street.
Yeah.
So it was like they knew what we were working on. It was like they
Yeah.
could see behind the curtain. So that was probably the second most notable, just from a standpoint of recognition, because nobody applauds us. Nobody comes around and says like, see what you guys are doing, blah blah blah. You get those people, those close friends and family, but the general public doesn't speak to us. Our pat on the back is the consistent paychecks.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
But we're not. Maybe we have a perceived value, but we don't get to experience that.
Yeah.
So that was the first moment where I feel like the general public applauded us for the work that we've been doing. You've got Charles Drew, you've got Metro Community College. We did the cover of the Metro of the Reader magazine.
Yeah.
With Metro Community College, the videos for Wayne State, the work that we did for Scooter's Coffee. And so we had already been working with people, but the general public wasn't shouting it.
Yeah.
So that was special. And then I would say the second moment for me was actually recently, and it was very emotional for me last year when we had two just like incredible events happen last year in July, where there was the first time that an employee had purchased a house.
Yeah.
And in the same month or in the same period of time, the first employee to have a baby. And that's you know, because you asked kind of off camera,
Yeah.
when did you know it was bigger than you? And that was that moment. It's like these people are supporting themselves off of a company that two guys just sat down and decided they were going to go ahead and commit and do this. So that one was very emotional for me because I always wanted to have that kind of community impact.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm not a a philanthropist or anything like that at this point. So that was like almost philanthropic for me. So those are the two.
You brought up some. Those are really some notable moments. Man, I would have to agree. It's like, hiring your first, employee. It was just a few years ago. It was just us, and we could barely pay ourselves. You know what I'm saying? And
Seriously.
to be honest with you, when we hired our first two, like we didn't have it like that.
Yeah, we really didn't.
We
really couldn't afford them.
We really couldn't. But we took that risk and we did it. You know what I'm saying? And that's where you do realize, man, this is bigger than us, right? It's like, man, you got other people that's dependent on you.
Yeah.
And believe in what you're doing, right? They got to believe in what you're doing.
Yeah.
They got to be rocking with your vision. And so that solidified that, okay, this vision, this mission that we have, people are, rocking with it and believe in it. Because I really feel like, what we do is essential for the community, right? So then that goes into the move to 24th Street.
Yeah.
Both of us growing up, raised in North Omaha,
Yep.
Benson, North, historic 24th Street, to have a spot down there.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about the other day, I was like, you just think about other areas in the city, and you think about what's a part of that, right? And I think about Exarban and some of these other areas. I'm like, they all have some type of marketing agency.
Right.
There's some downtown. There's one in Exarban. There's one in Midtown.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's essential for a healthy district.
Right.
And 24th Street has Stable Gray. Right.
Right.
I just connected that the other day. You know what I'm saying? And so, but with that, right, we always said that, creating opportunities. So, so people, that are creatives that want to do this work can do it here in North Omaha. They don't have to work somewhere else in the city to be able to do that.
Right.
So that was huge. And then it opened up another opportunity for us to serve creatives, right? So now we have the office on 24th Street. So now the space here, now we can actually rent this space to other creatives.
Right. Right.
Other photographers and videographers that need a space to be able to do their work, to make money and grow their business. So it just created another, opportunity as well.
Yeah.
And then, of course, getting that, small business of the year, it just caught me off guard.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because you don't, like, truly, it's like you don't do it. We never sat and said, we're doing this for some kind of award.
Right.
We
One
wanna
of
get
these days, we're
recognized.
going to get.
Furthest thing from our mind. Well, not even thinking about anything like that. But to be, recognized. And then, when we did our grand opening, the people that came down and celebrated with us.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
that
That was
was cool.
special, right? So I would say that grand opening too,
Yeah. That was a
the
big
ribbon
deal.
cutting, that people came down and celebrated with us.
That was a cool moment.
Yeah.
That was a cool moment. I want to go back to what you were talking about with having a marketing agency
Yeah.
in the community. We talked on the last episode about bail.
Yeah.
And how we're killing that. We're done with bail.
Yeah.
It's Mabel now.
Yeah.
And and that seemed to be received well by the guests that we had. But no, seriously, when you go to Benson, there's a bank. When you go to
This insurance company.
and there's an insurance company. There's
Law?
couple. There's a couple insurance companies up there.
And there's all of those things are in the district.
You always see that. You have restaurant, you have coffee shop, you have an insurance company, investment company, a bank,
Yeah.
a marketing agency or some type of marketing,
Yeah.
and a pizza shop. So we need all of those things down on 24th Street for anybody out there who is trying to figure out what kind of business to start. Start one of those down on 24th Street,
Right.
because that'll pair well with us.
Yeah.
But yeah, it really should be Mabel. There really needs to be marketing, because without the marketing piece, especially in today's day and age, with all the noise,
Right.
if you're quiet, nobody's going to even know you exist.
Right.
You have to be able to get your message out, and that's what the marketing agency helps you with.
Right.
It's overlooked. It's taken for granted. We want to skimp cost on it, but it's one of the most lucrative investments that we can make in ourselves is to market ourselves. Like us doing a podcast right now.
Yeah, I mean, you can have the best. I mean, you can have the best product and service. It's just a matter of people just knowing.
Yeah.
You know, and the thing is, it just helps you to tell your story and help people understand what you're offering and what's unique about you and
Right.
what you provide. And we help with strategy, because there's just so many things out there, and it's always changing. But you don't have to try to figure that out by yourself. That's
Right.
what branding, marketing agencies are here for. You know, to
Right.
think through that stuff, to keep you up on what's happening, and what fits your business.
Yeah, to
what
be an
will work
extension
for your
of your
business.
be an extension of your business.
Yeah,
Marketing, you need a marketing agency, an accountant, a banker, an insurance agent, and a legal representation.
Yeah.
Those 5 things. Don't leave marketing off because your instructor at school didn't tell you that you need marketing. You got to have it. 10 years, 7 employees, 26 contractors. Some would say we're successful. One last question. What's next? What's next for Stable Gray? What are we going to do next to move this company forward, as opposed to knocking over this Jenga?
Who's turn? Did you go last?
It's my turn to go. That's why I'm like, I'm going to just preface, like, we're getting close here.
That's probably it.
I'm
About to take it down.
Yeah. So yeah, what's next for us? What do you think is the next season of Stable Gray?
I think
Might have found one last one.
right now, you know, was this Content Parlor?
Ooh, that bad boy want to
It's
drop.
Content Parlor. We have a great opportunity, and a great resource here, right in the community, that more people need to know about.
Yeah.
That covers all those things that we just talked about. So getting folks connected. I mean, it's content creation, content creators. I know, everybody wants to know, it's like, how they can monetize, what I'm saying, what they're doing, how they can take it to the next level. And, this is just a continuation of what we've always done.
Yeah.
You know what I
It
mean?
really is.
It's just a continuation.
You could just
Can't move that one.
pull one off and make it knock over so we can get some wow factor on it.
I gotta still do it for real, bro. What I have here.
Teddy said, I don't play.
Yeah.
I play.
I don't play, I just play.
We gonna play to win. Cause the smaller one is way harder. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. All right, here we go. All right, I think I can take this one.
Yeah.
Wait. No! Oh, no! Oh, man. Well, at least we're 10 years.
So with that, doing the first conference award show this year,
Yeah.
which it's a lot, but it's got to be done.
Yeah.
Got to do it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say is next
Yeah.
for us. The evolution of Stable Gray, I think, sometimes folks don't understand the connection that we started here. We started in our other space, the photo studio. That was our office, and we converted that into a studio and then expanded.
Yep.
But the Parlor Awards show, which is coming this fall, is a major leap forward in doing marketing, because with artificial intelligence, with now we've got, when we started this, we didn't even have this concept of tariffs. Mm-hmm. All of these things put pressure on employers to keep their businesses staffed, to use better tools, to hire the best and the brightest. And so we're racing forward towards this creator economy, where you have to have those skills yourself. And that's what we call the Content Parlor Social Club. It's like a golf club. It's a golf club for content creators. It's a space where you can sharpen your swing. You can get better at using cameras. You can learn about editing. You can network. You can find paid work.
That's the key. Community.
You're have a community.
Not doing this by yourself. You're not the only one that's passionate and care about it.
Right.
Right. You
That's
can actually talk to other people that's nerding out on it, just like you.
And we rent this space, so no matter what your skill level is, you can have access to these tools.
Safe space to practice and get better, no matter what level you are.
That's the key.
Yeah.
And the conference is an award show. We plan to award and recognize the ones who are doing the work in the community of content creators, but also give the general public a place to network and to build those relationships. So it's going to be the place to be this fall.
That's right.
We are teeing that up right now. Stay tuned. You can go to the Content Parlor website. We'll have a link to that below. Make sure you sign up for the newsletter. You'll want to stay tapped in. And for anybody out there who wants to be a part of the staff, who wants to be a part of the team that's putting together the Content Parlor's award show, which is called the Parlor Awards, hit us up. We've got a link for you to sign up and be on the committee. But 10-year anniversary. I think we should celebrate. We should throw a party.
Oh yeah.
Bring some people out.
Yep, because the official day will be in July.
Yes.
Is it actually July 15th?
July 15th.
July 15th. So we will have a party, so you're going to hear more about it. And this is just one of many episodes of us talking about it. It's 10-year anniversary all year.
Yeah,
so.
That's right. And it's too much to unpack in one episode. You're talking about literally a decade of watching a little baby called Stable Gray grow up.
10.
It's 10 years old. So cute.
Yeah.
And so that's going to conclude this episode. Thank you for watching. Make sure you leave a comment below. What do you think of this episode? What questions do you want us to ask about 10 years?
Do you have any questions for us?
Yes.
Please send them in.
Even if it's how you got those gray hairs. What was the stressor? All right. All right. And we will see you guys in the next episode. Oh, also, just really quickly, just want to say thank you to the businesses that we've worked with and the people that have supported us over this last 10 years. A special thank you, shout out to everyone. We couldn't have done it without you. All right, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. Yeah, I think it was your turn.
It's my turn?
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter. You could just
move that one.
Pull one off and make it knock over so we can get some wow factor on it.
You know I got to still do it for real, bro. What I have here.
Teddy said, I don't play.
Yeah.
I play.
I don't play, I just play.
We gonna play to win. Because the smaller one is way harder. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. All right, here we go. All right, I think I can take this one.
Yeah.
Wait. No! Oh, no! Oh, man. Well, at least we're 10 years.